5,000 miles away, in a very different culture, Andrew Coulson finds an amazing similarity in the competitive spirit of a baseball game and what students must do to get into college.
In my case, I stay up all night before exam, maybe during 6 weeks.
Here, in Seoul, South Korea, the fierce competition for entrance to the very best colleges, paired with cutting-edge technology, has propelled a unique educational industry to soaring heights. 95% of all South Korean students attend intensive after-school tutoring sessions called Hagwons.
It is a market, it is an entire market, and the consumer, a student, likes the product that is better than any other. So teachers compete within the market to become entertaining and educative at the same time, you know?
For the last 10 years, my whole lecture revenue is over $100 million.
The good news is that there are places where educational excellence is scaling up. Which is why our next stop is a baseball game in South Korea. Baseball has one of the heaviest schedules in professional sports, but the Doosan Bears and the Next End Heroes are still giving it their all, despite the fact that this is a midweek game and the skies are threatening to open up any second. Playing ball isn't all fun and games, but it has its perks. The top players on that field are national celebrities, and they earn big bucks because of their skill and their hard work. Wouldn't it be great if the best teachers earned that same remuneration and that same recognition? Well, here in Korea, they do. Okay, not exactly. The top teachers earn more than the highest paid professional baseball players.
My whole lecture revenue is over $100 million.
How is that possible? Well, it's an interesting story, and it reaches back 1,000 years. In 958, Korea's Goryeo dynasty started doling out government jobs to whoever scored highest on a national service exam. The subject matter was mainly Confucian literature and mathematics, and only the ruling elite could afford to prepare their children for it. But it sent a powerful message. Academic excellence was the road to success. It wasn't until the late 1800s that the national service exam was finally abolished, and the Hermit Kingdom, as Korea had been known, finally started opening up to the outside world. But before it got very far on the road to modernization, Korea suffered a 40-year occupation by Imperial Japan, and then the partitioning of the country after World War II, and another 3 years of war instigated by the Communist North. After all that, South Korea was in ruins. Illiteracy was high, the infrastructure had been destroyed, but the nation had two things going for it: economic freedom and the fervent belief that education was the path to prosperity. Schooling exploded, first elementary and then secondary, but the creation of colleges couldn't keep up. So to ration those scarce college places, South Korea rekindled its ancient tradition, introducing a mandatory college entrance exam. Only this one focused on modern subjects and was genuinely open to all. Well, with their children's futures riding so heavily on that single test, Korean parents were keen to provide the best preparation they could. And since they lacked confidence in the public school system, families started looking for alternatives. This was similar to the situation in 19th century America, where most parents opted for private schooling. But here in Korea, there was a twist. The private schools were so heavily regulated that they didn't really look much different from the public schools. So parents decided to opt outside the regular school sector entirely, hiring private tutoring services called Hagwons. These Hagwons were popular with parents, but they weren't popular with everyone. Government officials in charge of public schooling worried that they would lead to inequality in the education system. And so in 1980, they outlawed most private tutoring. This prohibition on after-school tutoring was every bit as effective as America's prohibition on alcohol. Instead of driving Hagwons out of business, the ban drove them underground. They became illegal educational speakeasies, like the illicit drinking establishments of the Roaring Twenties. The Korean government even offered cash rewards to anyone ratting out teachers engaged in extracurricular curricula. Despite all this, the private tutoring industry boomed. By the time the ban was struck down 20 years later, the number of Hagwons had risen from 5,000 to more than 67,000. With the outright ban on Hagwons overturned, the government resorted to a cap on fees, but this too was ruled unconstitutional. Not to be dissuaded, the government set a 10 p.m. curfew on Hagwon lessons that remains in place to this day. In place, but not entirely effective.
My tuition, my Hagwon, at that time, we had a time limitation on only 10 o'clock. But they had a program from 10 to 1 o'clock. So what they did, we were studying at 10 o'clock, and we were in the night, we had to finish the lesson, and then they send us all into another restaurant just down below. And then when the police comes, right, they will check around whether this Hagwon is ongoing or not. After they went back to their police station, they called us to the restaurant. Okay, now you can come out. Then we come out again, and we had a lesson. And also sometimes we were studying, but by the window, we see a policeman, then we turn off the lights. Then we wait for they across the road, then we again turn it on and we studied. It is illegal. However, parents want it.
Do they ever? 95% of students have taken Hagwon lessons by the time they leave high school. It's typical to attend after school several days a week, sometimes well past midnight. And according to one study, 3/4 of students prefer those Hagwon lessons to their regular school classes.
Actually, I think the aim of Hagwon is helping us to get better grades from the school. And for me, actually, Hagwon helped me a lot.
I've seen many students who sleep at school, like all subjects from morning 8 to afternoon to 5 p.m. They just sleep. And then when they go to Hagwon, their eyes are so sparkly and they're ready to study. And then they study till 2 o'clock.
Of course it's that way. It's because Hagwons are customer-oriented. When students enroll in Hagwons, they are matched with classes based on their performance level. So it's possible to tailor the lessons to those specific students. But that's not the case for regular public schools, which means the highly advanced students and those who are far behind are in the same classes that aren't really suited to them.
Public schools are divided by age in classes. I think that makes a big difference.
And it's not the only difference.
Schools are places students are required to attend, but they choose to come to Hagwons, so they have more affection toward them. That means they tend to pay closer attention in class, and because of that, it is so fun to teach these kids.
Mr. Choi is a national star. A lot of students have fallen in love with his lectures. In the past, students from outside Seoul had to come take these classes during vacation. But as internet technology improved, kids got the opportunity to listen to great lectures in the comfort of their own homes.
Actually, I'm not from Seoul, I'm from Daejeon, which there aren't really many celebrity teachers, so we have to take online courses. So me and my friends, and we'll be all watching the same teacher's education. I actually met one of them at Seoul train station, and me and my friends from back home were like excited and we wanted to take pictures. He was like a celebrity to us, and he actually helped me with the subjects that I did not really do well on.
I teach around 1,000 students a year in person. As for online, it's around 10 or 15,000 students a year.
Every online lecture has a demonstration lecture. Almost all students should see that first, and then they are free to choose. Online and in-person lectures, on average, over 100,000 students taking my lessons.
It is a market, like it is an entire market, and the consumer, a student, likes the product that is better than any other. So teachers compete within the market to become like entertaining and educative at the same time, you know?
I must study hard, even harder than my students. So the lecture is very enlivened and interesting and exciting.
For online Hagwon teachers, if they deliver passionate lectures and give good service, many students will subscribe to their classes, and their earnings reflect that.
For the last 10 years, my whole lecture revenue is over $100 million, and my share is $25 million. But at this point, the regular schools teachers, if they worked harder, there would be nothing. There could be nothing for their more efforts.
Public high schools, the salary is seniority based, or seniority by age, right? Experience. And even though you teach very well, that usually you're not compensated for that.
Not just in Korea, but also in America. There's nothing like that motivational compensation system.
The best thing about teaching in Hagwons is the freedom it guarantees about everything, as long as I'm doing a good job. But at Hagwons, you must renew your contract every year. If the feedback and surveys from students are not good, you could be let go. It's a sort of carrot and stick approach. You could be let go or you could be paid more. So Hagwon teachers have no choice but to develop themselves in the best ways they can. There is a book called Professor Farnsworth's Explanations in Biology. It left a lasting impression on me. In that book, he says that everybody has a natural instinct to share what they know. To be able to share the things that you know and get paid for doing that is actually a miracle.
The same freedoms and incentives that are driving the success of Hagwons have also created what people call the miracle of the Han River. Korea's rise in barely 2 generations from a war-torn ruin to, well, this. During the 1960s, average income per person was less than $500 in both North and South Korea. But by the early 70s, the nations began to diverge. The South adopted an open market economy. The North, a centrally planned government system. Today, per capita income is 20 times higher in the South. It's not hard to spot the difference, even from space. The two Koreas at night. The North, a sea of darkness. The South, awash in light. South Korea's new wealth has spawned a proliferation of colleges. This view of Seoul is from the top of the classic 500 building, which itself was built by a university foundation. But though there are now enough college places for everyone, the high-stakes university entrance exam remains, and the competition to score well and attend a top-ranked college is fierce. It's fair to say that Korea's combination of hiring practices, high-stakes exams, and intense education culture have combined to make life pretty tough for students.
In my case, I stay up all night before exam, or maybe during 6 weeks, so I got under pressure a lot.
Traditionally in Korea, the educational level of a person has played a crucial role in determining his or her status in society.
You know, everything is measured by which college you enter. This is not good system. So I think definitely we have too much pressure, right? That's true.
Actually, I find this deeply troubling. I feel that the kids are suffering in this system that is created by adults.
And yet other students seem to take the academic pressure in stride.
If if I look back, I think it was not all just study. I had fun with my friends studying, and I kind of enjoyed it. And I wanted to do more to, succeed and do better. And I liked learning. So I think not all Koreans are like, I don't want everyone to pity the Korean students because we study a lot. Sometimes we kind of enjoy it because we are doing it for ourselves.
And it's hard to undo a 1,000-year tradition. But there are signs of change. For one, businesses are finally starting to look beyond elite college degrees when sifting through their applicants' resumes.
In the past, big companies, they were kind of lazy. So they just depend on the screening device. But now they realize that maybe good managers, good employees may not directly have to do with the college diploma.
Korea's challenge is to find a way of easing the pressure on its students while building on the key strength of its Hagwon sector, the ability to bring top teachers within reach of a massive audience. Our challenge is to figure out how they do it. Could it have something to do with the freedoms and incentives of Korea's tutoring sector? Its teachers have tremendous autonomy. They're constantly striving to improve their services to stay ahead of the competition. And the more students they serve, the more money they bring in.